Hey everyone. I thought it was about time that, in fact, I never even thought about it until today, that we looked at the light and the frequencies behind the word city. I mean, those of us who are, doing the transit calls and focusing on the city frequencies and our God experience, which is, I think, an oxymoron because the cities should have no experience but anyway, and we haven't even looked at the frequencies of what does a city really mean, at least with the number system that I'm looking at. And I questioned this and wanted to look at this because this week's gene key of empathy, in contemplating it, I suddenly, after years of reading this, suddenly I was seeing what I felt like empathy not being a true city, where there's some contradiction of terms in Richard Rudd's explanation. Even though so I won't go there, but I'm doing this video as a basis for my next video talking about, is empathy a true city? Yeah, so let's look at the numbers behind city. Okay, where's my share? Share screen, city, here we go. So look, I'll try to run through this very quickly. I know I say that every video, but the foundation of city is 19. I love this number. You know, I love it. It's my favorite number. I have it, so I get it. So the Hebrew letter or number 19, letter 19, is the only letter that, first of all, it's the highest of the highest light, but also the only letter that is written below like the line of writing. And so it also encompasses the darkest of the dark. It is the integration and the recognition of both high and low, light and darkness, coming to a point of true non-duality, seeing both of these frequencies as just frequencies, just is. And the 19 represents the ability, it represents our breath. It represents the monkey mind. You know, there's so many layers to these numbers, but it represents our breath and our connection to brain and the brainstem, the medulla. Anyway, it's our ability to breathe, like our yogic breaths, to hold space for spirit and of course others, but hold space for spirit, and to have come to a point in our spiritual evolution where like the little box symbol there, you've become like an empty box, an empty vessel. And I know that sounds like, oh, I don't want to be an empty vessel, but so clear, you've become so clear, a clear channel that you are kind of just like an empty but full vessel for God. And that you are able to utilize your breath, you breathe appropriately, and by staying more in the body and breathing in this way, you've learned to control the mind. But at this level of spiritual evolution, you've reached a point where you've entered into the no self, or I think they call it Turiya, fourth state, where there's really not a person there anymore. I mean, there is a person. These terms are difficult to explain, but the doer and the experiencer has really been dissolved so much that you are just simply a clear vessel, like God is really just working through you, or source or intelligence. So that the mind has, um, not that there's no mind, but that the mind has become non-grasping. It has realized its own oneness and it stops grasping into the outer world. So it's a very quiet mind, but thinking still happens. So anyway, so you've reached a level of no self, resting, consciousness resting in, yeah, absolute reality, Brahman, whatever you want to call it. So the abilities of this is obviously your attention rests on the deepest inner parts of yourself. Like you're so centered all the time inwards. And this means to feel God within. Of course, that's the abilities. But the success of this is, Richard speaks about 99% of the cities. As you're reading through them, he will say something like, there's no experiencer, the doer isn't there, the person isn't there, something like that. So he references this no self state. And so a Siddhi is actually just an essence, a frequency, a God essence coming through. It's a vibrational frequency that comes through. And yeah, this is why I question empathy. Anyway, so the success of being in this state is that now you, being this clear channel of God consciousness, is simply a reflection to others of who they truly are. What they see in you and feel from you is their own God consciousness, not a person, not their qualities, not their shadows, not their gifts, but their true self. I mean, it's like a clear mirror or something. Anyways, such a beautiful word, such beautiful and perfect numbers. And that's what the 14 is about, being a mirror. Yeah, and the 14 is the ability to awaken others with that essence. So that's, when somebody has really a lot of Shakti, like these, Amma and all these great saints, they could awaken you just by their essence flowing through, right? Anyway, so that's the foundation of Siddhi. And now let's take a look at empathy. Okay.